Hi everyone, welcome back to another video in the Web Security Academy series. In today's video, we'll be covering lab number 1 in the XSS module titled Reflected XSS into HTML Context with Nothing Encoded. If you do not have an account on the Web Security Academy, you can get one by visiting the URL portsfigure.net/websecurity and clicking on the sign up button. I already have an account and I am logged in, so to access the exercise, I'm going to click on Academy. Select all labs, do a search on cross-site scripting labs and select lab number 1 titled Reflected XSS into HTML Context with Nothing Encoded. Alright, let's get started. This lab contains a simple reflected cross-site scripting vulnerability in the search functionality. To solve the lab, perform a cross-site scripting attack that calls the alert function. So the target goal over here is to exploit the reflected cross-site scripting vulnerability in the search functionality in order to call the alert function. Alright, let's access the lab. Now notice over here, this is the built-in browser in Burp, and so all my requests are already being passed in my Burp proxy. So when it comes to cross-site scripting, the first thing we're looking for is input that gets stored or reflected back to the user in the application. So you could see over here, there's a search functionality. If we put in any string in the search functionality and click on search, you could see that the search string that we inputted gets reflected back to the user. And so this definitely should be tested for cross-site scripting. Now, if we go back over here and let's send this to repeater, hit send, and look for our string test, you could see that it's only reflected in one location, which is in the heading over here. So this field over here needs to be tested for cross-site scripting. And before we put our payload, what we'll do is we'll just put in a classic character that is usually used for cross-site scripting and see if it's encoded. So we've hit search right over here. And if we go back to proxy, this was the request. And let's see if this request, so we're looking for search results. And here we go. So you could see over here, the less than sign is not encoded on output. And so this is definitely vulnerable to cross-site scripting attacks. So let's create our payload over here. In order to complete the exercise, we need to call the alert function. So we'll say script alert1 and then end our script tag. All this does is essentially present us with a new window, so an alert box that displays the content of the string that is inputted in the alert function, which in this case is just 1. So let's hit search right over here. And here we go. So we get an alert box with the string that we inputted in the alert function, which means that the string that we put in the search field was interpreted as part of the client-side code. So as JavaScript, which means that we've exploited the cross-site scripting vulnerability. So if we hit OK right over here, we should see the congratulations, you solved the lab message. So let's reload again. And here we go. We get the congratulations, you solved the lab message. All right, so we successfully completed the exercise by exploiting the reflected cross-site scripting vulnerability. In the next lab, we'll look at another case of an XSS vulnerability.